I think this is the moment where the market is trying to decide whether this is a re-risk moment or a de-risk moment. We do see some, downside when it comes to the U.S. futures. But I think the size of the market reaction, and Marty, you tell me from, your years of experience watching the market behavior on the back of the geopolitical tensions like this, that the size of the market reaction, if we're trying to price in oil supply disruptions and somewhat prolonged tensions between Israel and Iran, I think this is quite a resilient market behavior. What do you say?
Yeah, I would agree, Sherry. I mean, I think when you take a look at how oil is pricing, we're at 73.54 now on Brent. We are seeing little to actually no geopolitical risk premium, I would venture to say. And, what I was actually seeing overnight, you probably noticed as well, was oil was down 1.5%. Gold was down 1.5%. And, I think the thinking there from folks I've been talking to is that, look, Israel did what it needed to do. Iran is on the back foot, and there's going to be a negotiated solution to this. It is not going to escalate, so we're relatively safe. We don't need to worry. But then, this morning, the latest news flow, oil goes back up. And you got to wonder, why is President Trump rushing back from the Canadian Rockies to D.C.? Why is he convening the National Security Council in this White House Situation Room? Something seems imminent, although I have to say that we have Reuters, and this is monitoring X, the White House account on X, saying that no U.S. attack on Iran is being planned. So that's off the table, which seems to suggest the next thing to think about is whether a next stage of attacks on the part of Israel is what is imminent. I don't know.
Yeah, and not a lot of people know, obviously. It could be the next stage of attacks, or it could be the next stage of talks. And perhaps he just needed to go back to the White House and go back to his office and better coordinate with folks in Israel and Iran. And I think that one line coming out of a Fox News interview with Defense Secretary Hegseth, that Trump is still aiming for a nuclear deal with Iran. I think that's the bit that gives me, at least, a little bit of comfort that maybe this is not going to be about further escalation, but this is going to be more about coordination. But, of course, we don't know at this point in time. But one thing is for sure, that the host of G7 Leaders Summit this year, Canada, must be very bummed out because there wasn't a lot that got done just yet. And President Trump, sorry, got to go. I've got important matters to deal with.
Yeah, it was kind of ironic and maybe a little disappointing, I'm sure, for Canada, right? Because the way that they organized the G7 summit this time around was they gave it actually more days than usual, right? It was 3 days that they had planned. And that was simply because they wanted to give President Trump the opportunity to sit down on the sidelines and talk bilaterally, one-on-one, mano-a-mano, with several key leaders to try and hash out trade differences and hopefully maybe even come up with some kind of framework deal or even trade deal. But, you've been following this, Sherry. Nothing's happening with Korea. And our colleague Lynn's been reporting that, 6 rounds of talks at the sub-leader level. Ishiba and Trump meet, still no deal. And then the guy leaves a day early to head back to Washington. And to your point, while there may still be hope that there can be a diplomatic off-ramp to this and a negotiated solution, maybe Iran will come to the table. My guess is it's something else because, if you want to do a deal with Iran, I don't think it's necessary to head down to convene the NSC, the National Security Council, to head to the White House Situation Room. They don't go in there for coffee and donuts. You know what I mean?